Welcome to the monthly MOSIS Core Data webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. The recording, presentation slides, and question and answers will be accessible on the DESE webinar website within a few days. This webinar will also be provided on the website with closed captioning within a few days. If you need to download today's presentation, there is a box at the top right corner of your computer screen where you can click on the September webinar and you should be able to download the file. Today we are going to cover the changes for the upcoming cycles for data collection. This includes new fields in the student core file and a few code changes for this school year. Then Tammy Lehman from our school finance office is going to talk about the PK state aid information. Then we will cover the deadlines for the upcoming cycles of data that are due in the coming months. And then lastly, we will go over some guidance to help you when reporting data for the October cycle. After the presentation is concluded, we will have time for questions. We want to start by reviewing the new fields that will be part of the student core file in MOSIS. These include the high needs student, dyslexia, and neglected or delinquent. These three new fields will have data reported in the June cycle at the end of the school year. The first new field we want to talk about is the high needs student field. This field is reported for IEP students in grades K through 12 whose educational costs exceed 3 times the LEA's current expenditure per average daily attendance. There is a high need fund that was established to provide funding to support LEAs with these students. You will be reporting yes or no in this field for students. The next new field for dyslexia will be used to report on students that were screened for dyslexia in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. The applicable codes are for not screened, exempt, scores at or above age grade level per the scoring manual, and scores at or below the 30th percentile in more than one skill or as by indicated within the manual. Along with this student level collection, there will also be a new core data screen that will be available in the June cycle that will allow districts to manually choose the screening tool their district uses. If you are familiar with the kindergarten readiness screen in core data that was added last year, the new dyslexia screen will be very similar. So you will have options that you can choose. There will be 3 or 4 that you can choose from. Or there is also going to be an option for other where you will tell us the tool that you are using for dyslexia to screen students. The last new field at this time is for neglected or delinquent students. This field identifies if a student residing in a neglected or delinquent institution is participating in programs for neglected or delinquent students. The applicable codes reported in this new field are for neglected, delinquent, or not neglected or delinquent. So these past 3 slides cover the 3 new items that will be reported in the student core file, and they will be reported at the end of the year in the June cycle. The next item we want to mention are the updates to the MOSIS codes. There are a few new ones, and we are also removing some as well. There are two new course delivery system codes. One is for STEM, and the second new code is for Behavior Interventionist. There are also two new student grade level codes to accommodate the reporting of AM and PM pre-kindergarten students. And then the last one listed on this slide is an update to the existing course program code of 50. This code was reported for MOVIP, however the name for that program changed to MOCAP, which stands for the Missouri Course Access and Virtual School Program. So we updated the code accordingly to match up to the new name for MOVIP, which is MOCAP. There will also be two new industry-recognized credential codes this year, which will be reported in the June cycle. One is for the Missouri Assessment of Basic Dental Assisting Skill, and the other is for Cisco Student Certification. The last code update that we have that we need to share with you today is for the Special Education Program exit codes. We are removing the codes listed here, which are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So those codes will no longer be valid codes to be reported in that field. Okay, so that wraps up the updates that we have at this time for you for this school year. I am now going to turn it over to Tammy Lehman from our School Finance Office, and she is going to share with you a little bit about the PK state aid.
Okay, hi, this is Tammy Lehman from School Finance, and I know everybody has probably heard at this point that some legislation that was passed several years ago has now been enacted that will allow for any district in the state to claim pre-kindergarten students for state aid. Now, it's not every pre-kindergarten student, it's a very limited number of pre-kindergarten students. This in front of you is the legislation. Very specifically, at what it states is the pupils between the ages of 3 and 5 who are eligible for free and reduced price lunch, and they have to attend an early childhood program that is operated by or in a district or charter school that is a local educational agency, and that program also has to provide a full-day kindergarten program at their district or charter school. The number of pre-kindergarten students is limited to the total number of such pupils included in the district or charter school's calculation of average daily attendance. It cannot exceed 4% of those total number of pupils who are eligible for free and reduced price lunch, price lunch between the ages of 5 and 18. So it's a very limited number. I'm sorry, I am struggling to switch the screen on the presentation. Oh, thank you. Somebody did that for me. I appreciate that. So again, just to reiterate, it's not all pre-kindergarten students who qualify to be claimed for state aid. Those kindergarten students have to meet a certain criteria. So the pre-kindergarten pupil must, first of all, be a resident of the district. So it has to be a resident 1 student. The pre-kindergarten student themselves must qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that's going to mean either the pre-kindergarten student is on the district's or charter school's direct certification list, or the district or charter school has to collect a paper form to prove the pre-kindergarten student qualifies for free and reduced lunch. And that applies even if the building or district that that pre-kindergarten student is attending is a CEP building or district. If your district and or that building is part of the community eligibility program, you will still have to collect a paper form. You cannot use the USDA's form for free and reduced lunch, but you must use a form that has the same criteria on it and verify that that pre-kindergarten student truly qualifies for free and reduced lunch. So the pre-kindergarten student must be enrolled in an early childhood program that is operated by the district or local educational agency. But we are allowing that if your district is part of an early childhood cooperative or consortium and you have a say in that program, that participation is allowed. But if your district or charter school is not running the pre-kindergarten program, then it does not qualify as a program that can have a student claimed for state aid. The pre-kindergarten pupils must not have tuition charged to their guardians, and they must not be in a program that is already fully funded by some other source of money. So if it's a fully paid for Title I program, you're not going to have any pre-kindergarten students that can be claimed. If they are in other programs that maybe are fully funded, you cannot claim that student for state aid. But you can charge tuition for a program for other students that are not being claimed. So that is just a distinction, and I know there's a lot of little points with who can be claimed that make this very complicated. But the individual pre-kindergarten student that you're going to claim for state aid, you cannot charge tuition to their family. But other kids, pre-kindergarten students in the program could be claimed. Now, we have a document posted on the school finance website, and it's under our topics and procedures page, and it has a lot of more information than I've given you here about whether or not you can claim these students for ADA, these pre-kindergarten students, and that document is titled Pre-K Eligibility for State Aid. So I do suggest you check that out. So once your district or charter school has determined which pre-kindergarten students you could claim and what that maximum 4% is, you have to figure out that maximum 4%, and you're going to have to designate those pre-kindergarten students in your core data file. It gets a little complicated in the fact that the October student core submission is what's going to have the data for us to calculate the maximum 4%, and that's also when you will designate those pre-kindergarten students for state aid. And in June, remember, you cannot exceed the 4% maximum. So on this next slide, you're going to have the ability that the law was slightly changed from how this first was enacted to allow you to replace a student if necessary, but that didn't change your ability to not claim more than 4%. So for example, let's say you have a pupil, we're going to call it pupil A, and you indicated in MOSIS as that pre-kindergarten to be claimed for state aid. And if pupil A moves from the district or charter school, you can replace pupil A with pupil Z on your list of pre-kindergarten pupils. You don't need to go back, and if you marked A in October and then later A moved, you don't have to go back and change it in October. We're just talking that in June, you can either report pupil A or pupil Z, but you cannot claim both if you hit your 4% max prior to that. So if you started the year as a district who the number of pre-kindergarten students you could claim for state aid was, for example, we're going to just throw out a number here, was 50, and you only had 30 qualifying students at the beginning of the year, you're able to continue to add students to your program that you can claim for state aid up until the point you hit 50. But if you started the year with a full plate of 50 PK students, you cannot necessarily claim any more than 50 in June. So if one student moves, you can replace them, but you can't claim both. So that the physical number of pre-kindergarten students that you claim in June cannot exceed that 4% maximum. So like I just stated, this slide is just going to just clearly show it to you that if you start the year less than your 4% maximum, you by all means can continue to add until you reach that 4% maximum of the head count of students. And remember, this 4% maximum is a maximum of the number of students, not the number of ADA. It's the number of students that you're claiming eligible to claim for state aid. So designated pre-kindergarten pupils who participate in the summer school following the completion of the regular school year may also have summer school for those pre-kindergarten students claimed for ADA. So basically what that means, if in June of the fiscal year, so if you had that student marked as being eligible to be claimed for pre-K ADA, then the following August enrollment attendance file for the following summer, you can claim that student for summer school attendance as well. And if you have any questions regarding any of the designation or marking of these pre-kindergarten students in MOSIS or in core data, you want to call school finance, and your school finance contact can help you. Remember, you also have to have a calendar entered on core data screen 10 for pre-K students if you're going to be claiming them for state aid. But that's only if you are. If your district is not going to claim any pre-kindergarten students for state aid, you have no need to have a calendar in. Thank you. I'll let Amber take it over from here.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. Next, we want to talk about the fall deadlines. If you have not already submitted the August cycle for MOSIS and core data, you will want to go ahead and do that at this time. The August MOSIS file is for summer school hours for your students that attended your approved summer school. So if you did not have an approved summer school, you would not need to submit that August SCA file. And then there are core data screens that need information verified and possibly updated or entered as well. Only one of the August core data screens is populated by MOSIS, and that is screen 16 for the summer school attendance hours. The majority of the August core data screens will roll over from the prior year, so you would just need to update as needed. So just to quickly go through those, screen 2 is your district information and it is used for the school directory. And then at the bottom of that screen is where you need to go in and put in the FTE counts for your support staff. And that is information that we report to the federal government, so it is important that you go ahead and get that entered on the bottom of screen 2. Screen 2A is where charter LEAs need to add or update their charter board members. Screen 3 is for the contact person for the different program areas in your district. And here at the department, we use screen 3 quite a bit when we need to make contact with the different program people within your district. So it's very important throughout the year to ensure that you are updating screen 3 with the correct personnel so that we can make contact with the right person in your district. On screen 4, the superintendent or your district administrator should be listed on line 1. So you'll want to make sure that that is updated if your LEA has changed superintendents or administrators. Screen 6 is for the district tax data information. Some districts did not have the tax information before the deadline of August 15th, so if you do have that at this time, you want to ensure that you go in and get that updated on screen 6. Screen 8 is the information for each of your district's attendance centers. Screen 10 is the school calendar, where you are reporting the planned calendar for this school year. And then screen 25 collects information for if you have state-approved gifted education programs. In the next few slides, we will go into more detail about the assessment and the October information. As you can see on here, though, the end of course fall assessment pre-code for the first testing window is due this Friday, September 14th. The CCRID cleanup trials are due September 21st. And then we will be opening up the October cycle here in the coming next few weeks, and it will be due October 15th. And as you know, we are a little bit lenient on the October cycle because it does have a whole lot of information about your educators and assignments and all of that. So we will continue to work with you to get your data in, even if it is a little bit past the October 15th deadline. Okay, so the end of course assessment pre-code for the first fall window is available in MOSIS now. This is for students who will be tested between October 1st and January 18th of 2019. Please ensure that the examiner email that you list in the file on each of those records matches the educator first and last name fields, or the testing vendor will not accept the information. This file is due this Friday. Okay, so for the 2018 CCR ID cleanup, the department obtains the assessment results for ACT, Work Keys, SAT, AP, IB, and PLTW from the testing companies. We then take those assessment records and we run it against the MOSIS ID system to obtain the MOSIS ID for the students that were tested. And sometimes it comes back that there is a missing MOSIS ID. So that is where we create this trial for you if there are some discrepancies with the MOSIS ID. So all you need to do is go out to MOSIS data collection. If you see a 2018 CCR ID cleanup trial, click on it, make any of the changes that you need to for any of the errors that are listed there, and then go ahead and certify it. If you go out to MOSIS data collection and you do not have a trial out there for CCR ID cleanup, then there is nothing that you would need to do. This is due September 21st. Okay, now we are going to take a look at the main October submissions in MOSIS for the October cycle. The student core file includes a record for each student who was enrolled or was a member in your district. It is based on the count date, which is the last Wednesday in September, which happens to fall on September 26th for this school year. So for enrollment, students are marked with a Y for yes in the enrolled on count date field in the student core file. And then if they are members, for membership, students are marked with a Y in the enrolled on count date field, and they have an N in the one prior 10-day attendance field if the student attended one of the 10 prior days to the count date. So we have a lot of questions around, districts call us and ask us why students are not showing up in membership, and it's possibly because that one prior 10-day field has a Y in it, when if they are a member, they would be Y for enrolled on count date and N in the one prior 10-day field. So that's kind of a check that you can do if you're not seeing students show up in your membership counts. And then we would like to remind you, if you are a NAEP sample district, you will need to make sure that you have your student core file in by October 15th. Okay, so the other two big collections in the October cycle are the Educator and the assignment information. The October Educator core file along with the October Educator school file make up the Educator collection. Together, these files collect the educator salary, degree, FTE, and position information. The Educator core file collects one record for an educator with their basic information, and then the Educator school file collects one or more records for each building in the district that the educator has a position code or approved career education position for. And you may be aware that when you submit one of these files, it always checks to make sure that the educator is also in the other file. So you need to make sure that all of the individuals are in both files. The October course assignment and the student assignment files make up the assignment collection. The course assignment file requires a record for each position or assignment in each district, school, or central office, and the student assignment file includes the students in those assignments. There are some situations where a caseload for the count of enrolled students in a course is reported in the course assignment file instead of the actual individual student assignments for a course. Okay, so here is a listing of the October cycle for core data. Earlier, when we looked at the August cycle, the majority of the screens had data that had to be manually entered directly onto the screen. This is not the case for the October cycle. The only manually entered screen for October would be screen 21, which is for your district's educator vacancies. The rest of the screens will populate upon certifying your MOSIS files. So you can kind of see going down the list here, it has a bullet for what that information is actually populated from the MOSIS files. So we won't go into detail about this list. When reporting the educator and the assignment files, you are reporting personnel requiring a certificate, aides, paraprofessionals, ancillary personnel, parent educators if funded by state or federal programs, and administrators involved with instructional programs. If you contract staff that are not an employee of your district, they are reported with a fiscal agent district code, and a 0 salary and 0 FTE may also be reported. You can also reference Exhibit 35 in the Core Data MOSIS Reference Manual for additional information on reporting the educator salary information. When reporting the educator and assignments, remember to report a record for the superintendent and principals along with other personnel such as the school counselor or the librarian. And Exhibit 10 in the Core Data MOSIS Reference Manual has a course code for all of these individuals, as well as they have a specific position code that they would be reported with. Something else to remember is that the years of experience must increase +1 each year for educators as well, and there are rules in place to enforce that. Throughout the school year, you will need to make changes to the educator and assignment files. This could be due to an educator leaving or taking on other assignments, a course ending early, and there are some other situations as well. There are specific end and start dates in these files for this. However, you only need to report dates if an educator or assignment truly started late in the year or ended early. Some of the edits within MOSIS look for an end date, and if all of your records are end dated, then it's possible you will receive an edit on every record in your file. To help with the reporting of some of these situations, there is a function within MOSIS that helps to transfer one assignment to another, and there is a tutorial on our website under training that will walk you through the transfer assignment process if you do need to see that. Something else to remember is that when you know what your second semester courses will be, they need to be added into the October file. When June course completion comes around, it will be looking for all of the courses that were reported in October, so it's vital that they are all in October. And then a common misconception is that the student assignments also need to be updated as students move around in classes, but that is not necessarily the case. Once you have reported students in their courses, they do not necessarily need updated. When the June course completion file is reported in June, we will see the grades and credits earned by students, and we will reference October for the course information and the student. However, if the student is not found in that course in October, then we also look at like the June enrollment attendance file to make sure that they're in there as well. So if students move around in October, you don't necessarily have to go into the October student assignment file and update it, because we will be looking at the course information, but we'll also be looking for students elsewhere if they're not in that exact class in October. So hopefully that helps clarify some of that, because we do receive a lot of questions on that. Okay, the next few slides are going to hopefully give you some guidance for reporting courses in October. This slide is referencing specifically AP and IB courses. There are specific course codes to use when reporting AP and IB. The full list of course codes can be found in Exhibit 10 of the MOSIS Core Data Reference Manual. Something else to keep in mind is that it is important to remember that MSIP will look at the course code. It is not going to look at the title, so ensure that you report the correct course code for your AP and IB courses. And then while we're talking about course numbers, the course sequence number is used along with the course code to determine the level the course is taught at. High school courses are generally the only courses that are reported with a sequence number. The current range of sequence numbers is from 0 to 9. In the future, we are planning on reducing the sequence numbers available for reporting. So it is a good idea to start looking at the courses you report and the sequences that they are reported with. Okay, so the department receives a lot of questions about how to report dual credit and dual enrollment courses. So we hope that the information on this slide and the following slide will help give you some guidance when you're reporting this information in October. So dual credit and or dual enrollment are reported in the dual credit site field, which is found in the student assignment file. Dual credit is referring to the instruction being provided by the high school teacher who has been approved to teach a college level class. You would be reporting this situation with DIST for district in the dual credit site field. If a college professor is providing the instruction, it would be dual enrollment, and you'll report COLL for college in the dual credit site field. And then if you're utilizing ITV, then you would be reporting ITV in the dual credit site field. Only colleges that are approved by the Coordinating Board of Higher Ed should be reported as dual credit. And then for MSIP, again, please remember that if you are simply labeling a course as dual credit or dual enrollment in the title, it will not mean that you are going to receive MSIP credit for it. MSIP will actually look at the June course completion file, which is then connected to the October course reporting. And if you do have questions about MSIP, you would want to contact our Accountability Data Office here at the department. And then the next slide is just going to show you kind of a table view of what we just talked about. So you can kind of see there you've got a column for dual credit and then dual enrollment and kind of what the differences are. Whether it's a high school educator for dual credit or a college instructor for dual enrollment, and the reporting that you put in the dual credit site field in the student assignment file, whether it's for district or college. And then of course you give us the college that they're getting the credit from, and then who the sending district and school are. And there is an additional document on our website that you can reference that is at that link at the bottom of the slide. Okay, so I know this is a lot of information. I think we have a couple more slides and then we will be done and we can open it up for questions. Okay, so we talked a little bit about MOVIP changing to MOCAP earlier when we were talking about our updates for the school year. So this is just kind of a reminder. MOVIP is now MOCAP for Missouri Course Access and Virtual School Program. If you're reporting MOVIP courses, you report a course program code of 50 for MOCAP and a course delivery system of V for virtual. And then embedded credit is reported for high school courses in grades 9 through 12. School districts may choose to embed competencies from one subject into another class and award credit to students for both the embedded content and the other subject. School districts choosing to offer embedded credit must notify the department's Office of Quality Schools, providing assurances that the embedded credit or embedded content is closely aligned to the subject in which the content will be taught and is also aligned closely to the Missouri Learning Standards. So you would need to contact our Office of Quality Schools to get approval for the embedded credit before you start offering it. You can also check out Exhibit 14A in our manual for additional information on embedded credit. And there's also this link here which goes to our Office of Quality Schools that has information about embedded credit as well. Okay, so this slide is just kind of a reference slide to give you some information as you're working through reporting data to us. We do have a listserv for Core Data and MOSIS, and you can subscribe to it on our website. We do pre-subscribe the Core Data and MOSIS contacts from Screen 3 and Core Data, so they are already on the listserv so that the individuals working with those systems can receive the communications from us. But if you are not one of those people listed on Screen 3, please feel free to go out and subscribe to our listserv to receive communications from our office. We have continued to update the training page on Core Data MOSIS as well. There is some MOSIS ID, direct match, other information, tutorials out there. The transfer assignment information I talked about earlier, if you need to transfer assignments from one educator to another, there's a tutorial for that out there. So we're trying to keep that more up to date as time goes on with additional tutorials and training information. You can also get to our Core Data MOSIS reference manual out on the web as well, and that link is here as well. Here is information if you do need to contact any of our specific offices. We have our assessment data, we have finance for attendance hour reporting, calendar questions, accountability data, career education, federal programs, and then special education. So if you do have specific questions for those topic areas, you can contact those numbers listed here. This does conclude the presentation for today. As always,